The encounter. The alien marketplace was alive with noise and color. Merchants shouted in strange voices, selling glowing fruits, metals from dying stars, and fabrics that shimmered like liquid fire. The air smelled of spices and smoke, of old ships and endless journeys. Humans were rare here, and when one walked through the crowded lanes, every eye turned to watch. He was tall, not in armor, not carrying weapons, only wearing a simple dark coat, his steps calm and steady. The aliens whispered among themselves, wondering what business a human had so far from Earth. But it was not his face, nor his walk, that drew their attention. It was the silver ring on his finger. It shone faintly even in the bright light of twin suns above. The design was unlike anything most had ever seen, carved with lines that seemed to move when you stared too long, as if they remembered battles and old secrets. An elderly alien woman, her back bent with age, her skin pale and cracked like stone, saw the ring and froze. Her hands trembled and she pushed through the crowd with surprising strength. The human noticed her approach, his eyes narrowing, calm but cautious. She stopped before him, her voice shaking as she spoke in the common tongue. "Where did you get this ring?" she asked, her eyes wide with fear and wonder. The marketplace grew quiet, voices fading, the other aliens leaning closer, sensing something important was about to unfold. The human looked down at her, silent for a moment, as if measuring her soul, before speaking. "It was not given to me," he said slowly. "I earned it," the old woman gasped, clutching her chest, her memories rushing back across decades. She whispered, almost to herself, "I have seen that ring once before, when I was young, on the hand of an emperor who commanded worlds." The crowd stirred, whispers spreading like fire, some scoffing, others frightened. A merchant muttered, "Impossible, that empire was destroyed long ago," while another hissed, "If the ring is real, then the old legends were true." The human stood still, his face unreadable, but his grip on the ring tightened. The woman reached out a trembling hand, not daring to touch it, only pointing, tears forming in her ancient eyes. "That ring vanished during the purge," she said. "It was lost when our planet fell, when our armies were crushed, when my people fled into the void." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, the marketplace was silent except for the beating of many hearts. The human finally spoke again, his words calm but heavy. "I found it where death was thick, where fire burned the skies, where the ground was broken by war." His eyes darkened, with the memory, his voice lowering. "A warrior placed it in my hand with his last breath. He asked me to protect what they could not." The old woman staggered back, her mouth open, her body shaking. She whispered one word, "Brother," and collapsed to her knees. Gasps rippled through the crowd, some aliens stepping back in awe, others pressing forward, desperate to see. The human did not move to help her, but his eyes softened, as if he understood. "You knew him," he said gently. And though it was not a question, the woman nodded, her tears falling to the dusty ground. "He was my blood," she said. "He was a prince of our people, the last hope of our house, and now you carry his burden." The ring glowed faintly brighter, as if alive, as if listening. The crowd began to murmur louder, fear and wonder mixing. "Is he the keeper?" someone asked. "No human could bear such a weight." Another said, "If the ring accepts him, then the stars will change again." The human raised his hand, the silver catching the light, the glow deepening for a moment. He looked at the old woman and asked in a voice low but steady, "Then tell me, what does this ring truly mean?" The woman lifted her face, her eyes filled with both sorrow and hope. "It means," she whispered, "that the old prophecy is not dead. It means that the stars will bow once more, and it means that you, human, are now part of it." The marketplace was no longer a place of trade, but of silence, every creature holding its breath. The human said nothing more, his eyes scanning the faces around him, his heart heavy with the weight of destiny, and the ring glowed again, brighter than before, as if ready to awaken secrets the galaxy had forgotten. The question. The silence of the marketplace pressed on every ear. The old alien woman still knelt, her frail body trembling, her eyes fixed on the glowing ring. The human stood calm, though he felt the weight of 1,000 stares. He had walked through many alien worlds before, but never had his presence stirred such fear and wonder. The woman's voice broke the silence once more, soft but sharp. Tell me, human, how do you still live after touching that ring? No one outside our bloodline was ever able to wear it. Her words fell heavy, making the crowd whisper again. The human lowered his hand, hiding the glow, his voice calm. I live because I was chosen by the one who gave it to me. The woman's eyes widened, her lips trembling. Chosen, then the old words are true. The ring did not bind itself to power or blood, but to will, to promise. The merchants leaned forward. Guards from nearby posts began to move closer, drawn by the growing noise. Some aliens muttered that the woman was a fool. That age had broken her mind, but others saw the glow and believed. The human looked around, sensing the tension rise. Then he spoke, his tone low, each word steady. This ring is not mine to own, it is mine to protect. It carries stories of battles, cries of the fallen, and the hope of a people who refuse to be erased. The woman gasped, clutching her chest again. You speak like him, like my brother. He too carried hope even when all else was lost. Tears fell again, but there was strength in her voice now. You must answer me, human. Why do you protect what is not yours? Why keep the burden of a dying people? The human looked at her, and for the first time, his eyes softened fully, showing the pain of memory because, he said, his voice almost a whisper, when he placed this ring in my hand, he looked at me as if I was already part of his world. He trusted me with his last breath, and I could not betray that trust. The crowd stirred again, some murmuring about destiny, others about danger. One alien merchant spat on the ground, shouting, Lies! No human could bear the weight of our empire's legacy. He must be a thief, a trickster. The guards stepped closer, their weapons humming faintly, but before they could reach him, the old woman rose shakily to her feet, her hands raised to shield the human. No, she said firmly, her voice stronger than before. He is not a thief. He carries the oath of my brother, and the ring accepts him. You cannot see, but I feel it. The bond is true. The guards hesitated, confused, looking between the trembling elder and the silent human. The human did not raise his hand or fight. He simply stood with quiet strength, the kind that needed no weapons. The woman turned to him again, her eyes searching, desperate. Then tell me, protector, what will you do with the ring? Will you bring back the fire of war, or will you bury its light in silence? The human took a slow breath, his voice deep and steady. I will do neither. I will guard it, and I will honor the promise given to me, but I will not use it to rule. I will not use it to destroy. Its power is not mine to command. The crowd erupted in whispers, some calling him weak, others calling him wise. The woman studied him for a long time, then whispered the words that made everyone fall silent again. If you are true, then you are the keeper, and the keeper's path is one that even the stars will bow to. The glow of the ring flared once more, brighter, sharper, reflecting in every wide alien eye, and for the first time in centuries, hope and fear walked together in the same place. The revelation begins. The glow of the ring lingered in the air like a small star. The old alien woman stood close to the human, her eyes shining with tears and memory. The guards who had approached now kept their distance, their weapons still ready, but their courage uncertain. The marketplace had turned from a place of trade into a hall of judgment, every alien waiting for the next word. The woman spoke again, her voice trembling but filled with strength. When I was a child, before the purge, before the fires, I saw this ring on the hand of our emperor. He was a man of great power, but he was also kind. He wore it as a promise to protect every world. Under his care, she turned slowly, her voice carrying through the crowd. When the empire fell, when the council sent its fleets, The emperor and his sons fought to the very end. The ring was said to have been lost in the ashes of our homeworld. Her words filled the square with silence, every alien remembering stories told in whispers. The human listened without moving, his hand still heavy with the silver glow. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and steady. The warrior who gave me this ring. He fought with courage unlike anything I had ever seen. He bled and broke, but his spirit would not die. When he fell, he pressed this ring into my hand, and he said, "Protect what we could not." The woman's knees weakened, and she covered, her face, her tears spilling freely. "It was him," she whispered. "It was my brother. He carried the ring into his last battle, and now you carry him in your promise." Gasps rose from the crowd, many stepping back in awe, others bowing their heads in respect. The guards lowered their weapons, no longer certain if they were facing a threat or a prophecy. The human's face was calm, but inside his heart was heavy. He had carried the ring for years, but never had he understood the depth of its meaning. The woman lifted her head, her voice rising. "This human carries the legacy of our empire. He is the one the old prophecy spoke of, the keeper who comes not from our blood, but from beyond the stars, chosen in our darkest hour." Some aliens cried out in protest, "Impossible! A human cannot be keeper." Others whispered in agreement, fear in their eyes. The human raised his hand again, the ring catching the twin sun's light, shining even brighter. "I am no emperor," he said firmly. "I am no king of stars, but I made an oath and I will keep it. I will protect what was trusted to me, even if the galaxy burns around me." The crowd fell into silence again, the weight of his words pressing into their hearts. The woman bowed her head, her voice breaking but sure. "Then you are keeper, and the stars will test you. They will not let such a promise pass without trial." The human did not reply. He only looked into the distance, as if he could already feel the storm waiting beyond the horizon, and in that moment the marketplace was no longer a place of trade. It became the first witness of a story that would spread across the galaxy. The hidden truth. The human stood still, the ring glowing faintly, as if it listened to every word spoken in the crowded square. The old alien woman's tears had slowed, but her eyes still shone with sorrow and hope. The crowd leaned closer, waiting, afraid to speak too loud. At last the human took a deep breath, his voice low, steady, and heavy. "With memory, you ask how I came to wear this ring," he said. "Then listen, and know it was not by greed, not by chance, but by fire and death." The air seemed to tighten around him, every ear waiting for the story. "I was young, a soldier in a forgotten battle far from Earth. Our unit was ambushed, and we were pushed into the ruins of an alien world. Broken walls, burning skies, a place already scarred by older wars." His eyes darkened as he spoke, each word carrying the weight of a nightmare. "In the middle of that chaos I found him, your warrior, your prince, his armor cracked, his body broken, but his spirit unshaken. He fought even when the ground was covered in ash and blood." The old woman's hands trembled at his words, her lips whispering her brother's name. "He could have left me to die," the human continued, "but instead he stood beside me, an alien fighting with a human he had never met. Together we held the line until the sky burned red." The crowd murmured, stunned by the thought of their lost prince fighting shoulder to shoulder with a stranger. When he fell, the human said softly, "He pulled me close, his hand shaking, his blood heavy, and he pressed this ring into my palm. He said, 'Protect what we could not.' And then, he was gone." The woman covered her mouth, her sobs silent but deep. The human lifted his hand, the silver band glowing brighter. "From that day, I swore to honor his last wish. I carried the ring through war and peace, through silence and shadow, never speaking of it, never showing it, because I knew it was not mine to flaunt." The crowd was silent, the sound of the market gone, replaced by the pounding of hearts. The woman stepped closer, her voice a whisper. "You carry not just his ring, but his soul. His last breath lives in your promise." The human nodded slightly, his face calm but heavy. "I never sought to rule. I never sought power, but the ring has a will and it does not let me forget. The ring's glow brightened again, casting faint shapes in the air, symbols like stars, lines forming maps unseen for centuries. Gasps erupted from the crowd, some falling to their knees, others backing away in fear. The woman stared at the glowing symbols, her voice breaking. The maps of the lost systems, the paths our empire guarded, they were sealed inside the ring. Only the keeper could awaken them. The human clenched his hand, dimming the light. Then the galaxy must be careful, for secrets like these bring not only hope, but war. The guards exchanged uneasy glances, no longer sure if they were standing against a human or witnessing the birth of something far greater, and the old woman bowed her head, whispering, "The hidden truth is revealed. The keeper walks among us, and the stars themselves will test his oath." Rising tension, the symbols faded into the air like smoke, but the memory of them stayed sharp in every watching eye. The human lowered his hand slowly, the glow of the ring fading, yet the weight of its presence grew heavier. The old alien woman stood beside him, her voice broken but strong. "You see, he is the keeper. The prophecy lives and our people are not forgotten." The crowd shifted uneasily, whispers spreading like fire, some filled with awe, others with fear. From the far edge of the marketplace, a group of armored officials pushed through, their steps loud, their faces stern, their weapons humming with restrained power. They wore the crest of the council, the same crest that had led the purge. Long ago, one stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Human, by order of the Galactic Council, you will surrender that ring. It is not yours to keep. It belongs to the empire that fell." The crowd gasped, some stepping back, others shouting in protest. The old woman raised her hands, her voice fierce despite her age. "No, the ring chose him. My brother gave it to him. The keeper cannot be forced. The keeper cannot be commanded." The officer sneered. "Your brother was a traitor. His bloodline was broken, and now this human dares to wear his shame like a crown. Surrender the ring or we will take it." The human did not flinch, his voice calm and even. "I made an oath to a dying warrior. Not to you, not to your council. The ring is not yours to claim." The soldiers spread out, their weapons pointed at him, the glow of their armor reflecting the twin suns. The marketplace trembled with tension, some aliens backing away, others watching with wide eyes torn between fear and faith. The old woman stepped in front of the human, her frail body shaking but unyielding. "You will not touch him, not while I live. He carries the last hope of my people, and I will not see it stolen again." The officer's face darkened, his hand tightening on his weapon. "Then you will fall with him." Before he could act, the ring began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the human's heartbeat. The light spread out, covering the ground with faint patterns, old symbols rising like fireflies in the air. The soldiers froze, their weapons trembling in their hands, the air itself humming with power. The human's voice carried over the silence, calm but filled with warning. "I will not fight you, but if you try to take what was given to me in trust, then the ring itself will decide your fate." The glow intensified, the patterns in the air forming shapes that none had seen in centuries. Maps, constellations, forgotten marks of empires lost. The crowd fell silent, some kneeling, others bowing their heads, as if afraid to look too long. The officer hesitated, his authority slipping under the weight of the moment. The old woman's voice rose, filled with both grief and pride. "You see, the keeper stands before you, and even the stars themselves answer his oath." The human clenched his hand, dimming the light once more, his eyes steady as he looked at the soldiers. "I will not run," he said, "but I will not bow. If you wish to test me, then understand. You are not only testing a man, you are testing a promise that will not break." The soldiers faltered, caught between duty and fear, their commander silent, his face pale in the glow that still lingered. And in that silence, the galaxy itself seemed to lean closer, waiting for the first spark of what would come next. The power of the ring. The standoff. Stretched in silence, the soldiers gripping their weapons, the crowd frozen, and the human standing calm with the old woman at his side. The officer barked again, trying to regain control. "Seize him. Take the ring by force." The soldiers stepped forward, their boots heavy on the stone ground, the hum of their weapons, filling the air. But before they reached him, the ring flared with sudden light brighter than the twin suns above. The glow spread outward like waves, striking the soldiers with invisible force, pushing them back as if the air itself had turned to stone. Gasps erupted from the marketplace, aliens shielding their eyes, others dropping to their knees in awe. The human did not raise his hand higher. He only stood firm, his face calm, but his eyes hard. Symbols burst from the ring, swirling through the air, forming star maps that stretched across the sky itself. Glowing constellations no one had seen in centuries. The old woman cried out, her voice filled with awe. The hidden paths, the lost systems, they are alive. The Keeper awakens them. The soldiers stumbled back, fear rising in their eyes, their weapons useless against the power shining from a single silver band. The officer tried to shout again, but his voice faltered, drowned by the deep hum that filled the air, a sound like the heartbeat of the galaxy itself. The human spoke at last, his words steady and sharp. I told you, the ring is not yours to take. It does not answer to greed or force. It answers only to oath. The glow grew stronger, shapes forming into ancient ships, vast fleets made of light, their outlines drifting above the crowd like ghosts of the past. Children pointed in wonder, elders wept, guards shook with fear. The old woman raised, her hands to the sky, her voice breaking. The ring remembers. It carries the souls of our fleets, our fallen, our lost, and now it reveals them through him. The soldiers fell to their knees, unable to stand against the weight of the vision. The officer dropped his weapon, his arrogance stripped away, his face pale as he stared at the glowing fleets above. The human lowered his hand slowly, the visions fading, the glow dimming, the silence deepening. He spoke again, quieter this time. I will not use this power for war. I will not raise these fleets to destroy. But if the galaxy seeks to chain me, then know this. The ring will rise against you. The old woman stepped, closer, her voice trembling. Keeper, you hold the fate of stars in your hand and yet you choose restraint. This is why the ring accepts you. The human looked at her, his eyes calm but filled with a quiet fire. I choose restraint because I know what war costs. I have seen enough ashes to last a lifetime. The marketplace remained silent, every alien struggling to breathe, hearts heavy with what they had just witnessed. The officer, still on his knees, whispered brokenly, this power, it should not exist, not in human hands, but the crowd no longer listened to him. Their eyes were fixed only on the human and the glowing ring, and in that silence a new truth took root, one that would echo far beyond the marketplace. The Keeper had revealed the power of the ring, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The final shock. The glow of the ring slowly faded, but the memory of what it revealed stayed burning in every eye. The marketplace was no longer a place of trade. It had become a temple of silence, filled with fear, awe, and wonder. The human stood still, the old woman at his side, the soldiers kneeling in defeat, their weapons forgotten on the ground. The crowd whispered in low voices, some calling him a savior, others calling him a danger that could not be contained. The old woman raised her trembling hands and spoke with a voice that carried like thunder. You see him, you doubt him, but the stars do not doubt. The ring has chosen, and the prophecy lives again. She dropped to her knees before the human, her old body shaking but her eyes shining. Keeper, heir of promise, guardian of my brother's oath. The crowd gasped, dozens of aliens falling to their knees, their heads bowed, their voices low in prayer and fear. Even those who doubted dared not stand when the glow still lingered faintly around his hand. The human looked down at them, his face calm but heavy. I am no king, no emperor. I am only a man who carries a promise. Do not bow to me. Bow to the oath, bow to the truth that hope must live even in the darkest sky. His words struck deep, and more aliens knelt, their tears falling to the ground, their voices whispering in unison. Keeper, Keeper. The officer who had once demanded the ring now lowered his head, unable to speak, his pride broken, his fear naked. The human raised his hand once more, the silver catching the light of the twin suns, the faint glow returning, not violent, but calm, like a steady flame. His voice carried over the square, quiet but powerful. This ring does not belong to one world or one bloodline. It belongs to every voice that still believes in honor, in promises kept, in hope that cannot die. The old woman wept openly, her heart both healed and broken. My brother was right. Even in his final breath, he saw beyond blood and race. He saw the one who would carry us forward. The crowd cried, out together, some with joy, some with sorrow, but all knowing they had witnessed something that would change the galaxy forever. The human lowered his hand and whispered words that cut through the silence like a blade. Then let us begin again, and, in that moment, under the twin suns and the silent gaze of 1,000 eyes, the galaxy bowed to the keeper,